1 year later, what did the trucker convoy protests change?
I don't believe they changed anything other than they bullied the government into, getting rid of some of the masking. But other than that, I don't think it was effective at all. In fact, I think it was really ineffective.
I'm a physician, so the people who think that it's kind of stupid to be what the convoy guys were standing for, At the time, I may have this wrong, but I think that they weren't allowed to go into the States anyway without certification of vaccination. And their big fuss was they weren't allowed to come back. But, I don't know, the whole thing just seemed kind of dopey. And I felt quite sympathetic to the people who lived near where the honking went all night long.
I don't believe so. I think that things were eventually going to change. I didn't think a protest like that needed to happen. It affected a lot of people, a lot of people's mental health and accessibility to go anywhere. So I find it did more worse than good, personally.
I don't think they've changed anything. I was very upset about it because I didn't understand it. They were talking about freedom, and I think in this country we have a lot more freedom that people are taking for granted that most of the world does not have.
Has it changed anything? Probably not. But I think that it makes the middle ground people like myself question some of the things that the government has done. And, just makes you rethink things.
Honestly, not much. I mean, realistically, they wanted the mandates to be removed. They got told to leave. They got forced to leave. Shortly after, the mandates got removed anyway. So the question is, was it done just to make them happy at the time? Who's to say? All I know is during that time, it was starting to get better, and then they showed up and everything got worse for a good while.
I think it changed the mentality of the downtown core and sort of what we allow to happen in our downtown core on Wellington, for instance, across from our Parliament buildings. It affected all the communities in the downtown core. It was very disruptive for Ottawa.
I think it made more awareness in terms of people's values and interests. I hope that it gave a little more clarity in what people were feeling at the time, but also to be aware of conspiracy theories and the like.
I think it changed perceptions of all the lockdowns. I think it made people take a second look and see how it was done, and was it done in a way that was fair and equitable.
To be honest, I think it woke up a lot of Canadians that are still sitting back in hiding, haven't come out clearly. But I think the attitude towards the federal government has changed drastically.
I guess it depends on who you ask. Some people will say, oh my gosh, you gave us freedom. Without them, we wouldn't be able to talk without our masks. And some people will say, they didn't really do anything because the mask legislation was about to be amended to being removed anyways. So I guess it depends who you ask and who it benefited in that moment. There's people in Ottawa, they'll say it didn't do anything for them except disrupt them. There's people in Ottawa, they'll say, oh my goodness, it gave ways to other countries to also protest. So I just like anything, it's always going to be on how it affects us or that individual personally. So again, it depends on who you ask on that one.
I think it changed a lot of people's perspective on vaccines and the ethical nature of whether or not we should be telling people that they need them or not. Definitely kind of changed people's minds. I know people that were really vehemently anti-vax, they're kind of being vindicated, and people that maybe didn't hold that opinion beforehand are now kind of going to that side. But it definitely changed a lot of people's opinions on that.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I mean, I think it was a waste of time, personally. I was disappointed in the people, and I'm glad it's not happening again.